Welcome to the Learning Reimagined podcast, where we discuss solutions to employee training and development challenges in the Caribbean. We speak with Caribbean professionals who are experts at helping people in Caribbean organizations excel. And we want to help you, our Caribbean audience, level up your teams, your employees, so that your businesses can succeed. Lakeisha Palmer is the Group Head of Talent Development at the Digicel Group. She's a highly skilled, multifaceted individual with over 23 years of experience in human resource management, with her key areas of expertise including talent development, training administration, performance management, human resource development, talent management, employee engagement, and coaching and mentorship. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Learning Reimagined podcast. And today I have Lakeisha with me, and we're discussing a very, very important topic: the impact of learning and development on career pathing within organizations. I know that's a mouthful, but Lakeisha is here to break it down for us and really help you, our audience, understand how learning and development and career pathing tie together. So Lakeisha, it's great to have you here. Thank you so
for having me.
much.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to go right into the conversation. All right. So let's start with, how would you define learning and development within the context of career growth?
All right. So as you know, learning and development, it's a continuous process. It's a process of growth, learning, development, and it's a critical tool that organizations use to develop and retain its people. Specifically as it relates to career pathing, learning and development is that avenue, is that vehicle that takes you from where you are now to where you could potentially be or where you should be as an employee.
And when you say from where you are to where you should be, who defines that where you should be?
And that's a good question, Christine. That is actually up to yourself and those that you work with. So you have to know, why am I in this role? What is it that I want to be potentially in 3 years, in 5 years? Where do I see myself? But then you also have managers who are able to identify that potential very quickly. And so they would go, Christine, you have the right skills to become a general manager, a CEO. And we need to have that career path for you. So it's really up to you. And it's also up to those leaders who are able to identify the potential in you and push you forward as such.
And identifying potential, that's a very good point. I don't know if it is that I should ask how, but how can managers identify the potential in their employees?
Great question. So there are different ways, right? There are ways where you could actually assign persons to a project. You'll be able to see what their true skills are as they work through that project with another team. You could also assign them to cross-functional teams. And then based on that feedback from whoever is that team leader, the person could say, Christine is very great at project management. And I think we should put her in a project management role, for example. So identifying the potential comes from different places. It could be from somebody outside of the team. It could be from the supervisor themselves. Having had that interaction with the person, they're able to see what the skills and competencies are. And so, and there are other processes that we use to identify high potential persons. There are assessments. There's a 360 feedback. There are other specific assessments for the role. And so we have a variety of ways to identify high potential employees.
All right. So let's go into career pathing. How would you explain what career pathing actually is?
All right. Well, career pathing is a process, right? So sometimes people, they join an organization and they have no clue where they want to go, what they want to do. And that's fine. That's why L&D exists. That's why HR exists. And one of our roles is to take persons through that very systematic process of finding that niche, finding that thing that makes them click. So it's that process where you put them to different roles, you assign them to different departments, because for you to identify that thing that gets you excited, you have to try different things. And so career pathing in my mind is setting up that person for success from day one. So when they come in, you identify a path for them based on the skills and competencies that they have. And then you build those skills and competencies over time. And their interest might change, which is okay. But it's for us to find ways and help them to, just develop that potential that's inside to see how can this person be of great value to the organization later on. So it's a process, but it's very structured, very systematic. We look at, there are different things, mentorship, training, coaching. There are different things that we can use to help somebody who is on that career trajectory.
And since you brought up the whole idea of career trajectory and building the person up from day one, is there a fear within certain organizations about actually doing career pathing? Because some organizations might think, for example, that when you're building this person up, you're building up these skills, you're doing all of this, that person might end up leaving, and then it's like you've wasted all of this investment.
I really like that question, because in my mind, having been in L&D for several years, I don't see it that way. Because in my head, if you don't build the skills and competencies, you have a bigger problem. So decide which problem you want to have. Do you want to have a problem of people leaving because you didn't invest in them? Or do you want to invest in people, and even if they leave, they're contributing to society on a whole? And if you think that way as a corporate entity, I just think it's better. It's not, you're not trying to hold on to the knowledge that the person has, but rather you're looking at how, this person has left us, but they left one telecoms and they went to another telecoms. The knowledge is transferable. And so it means that, even though it's a loss to the current organization, it's not a loss generally, because that person has developed new skills and they're better for it. And as a company, yes, we don't want to lose you, but hey, there are different ways we can think of to retain the knowledge.
Right.
So that's a whole different conversation. It's about how we do knowledge transfer. If we have that fear as a company, set up programs where once you've invested in persons, you may potentially bond them. You may not bond them for a year.
Got you.
And once you bond them for that 1 year, they're able to transfer that knowledge to other employees. So it's about knowledge sharing. So there are different ways. I don't see it potentially as a fear, but I understand that it could be a fear for organizations.
Understood. All right. So why do you believe learning and development programs are crucial for career pathing? Why are they important?
Learning and development programs are crucial for people in general. It's just something that once you participate, for example, in a training program on emotional intelligence, for example, what it does for you, it builds your awareness of a topic. It builds your self-confidence, because you now know more to speak more about it.
Right.
It builds your knowledge base. I know what emotional intelligence is. I can participate in a conversation about it. But it also provides a structured way for you to learn a new concept or idea. So learning and development is that tool. I see it as a tool that we use to just help someone to become better at what they do, to become better as an individual. And it's just growth makes you feel good. When you feel good, you feel committed to staying with that organization that's saying, hey, I see you. I want to develop you. So in my mind, it's really about, it's important, because without learning and development programs, then you don't have a structured way of moving from where you are now to where you want to be.
Exactly. Exactly. And knowledge is a big part of getting to where you want to be.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why we study. That's why we have tertiary studies. We have secondary. We have different types of studies that we do. And even after the formal education is finished, we continue with certifications. And that's the way that we keep current, relevant. Our knowledge is always improving. So it's critical for us to have learning and development as a critical part of career pathing.
Agreed. All right. So since we're diving into learning and development now, right? What are the key components of an effective learning and development program?
All right. I like answering that question. And I like answering the question because it excites me. All right. It excites me because for a learning and development program to be effective, there are different components.
Okay.
But the needs assessment, to me, is the key thing, the why. So why are we doing this program? What's wrong? What is the need that we have? And when you identify what the need is, then you're better able to define an intervention that's going to address that need. So we look at the needs, we look at the objectives, and we look at the outcomes.
Okay, needs, objective, outcomes.
And the outcomes, right? So why are we doing this? What are we doing? And what do we want to achieve at the end? And what's important too is to also know the audience. Who are we training? Who needs that intervention? Why do they need it? What's the skill set like of the group? Do they have basic knowledge of the training? Are they at an intermediate level? What level are they at? So in designing the program, you would be better able to look at, their level. So they're not at the base level, which means they don't need a basic program. Or they know nothing. So let's start at the beginning.
Right.
So when you know what the needs are specifically, it's easier for you to develop that intervention. It's also critical for you to look at the modality. So
Very
what
important.
works best? Is it online learning? Is it face-to-face training? And depending on what it is, we may recommend face-to-face training as the best option versus an online program. Because, there are a lot of tremendous value in doing a face-to-face where you can have role plays and people just learning by doing the thing versus sitting online. But online works as well. So those are the key things. We look at the needs, we look at the objectives, and we look at the outcome.
And when you speak about those modalities,
right,
because that's a very important point, a lot of people tend to think that it's either one or the other. So it's either you do face-to-face or you do online.
Right.
How do you determine the best modality? How you mentioned?
Yes. Okay. So I embrace both modalities. I think hybrid learning is the way to go because the online learning helps people to be responsible for their growth. The face-to-face puts you in a space that says, hey, for the next 2 days, this is what we want you to focus on. Now, how do we determine what's best for the group is based on, again, the need. If it is that you're wanting to train a group of CEOs, for example, in executive leadership, say that's the topic, we have a leadership problem and it's with the CEOs. I don't think online learning is the best thing for them. CEOs are busy. They don't have the time to really just sit and be online for a program every night. Right. It doesn't work. So what we've done, certainly in the past, is that we've brought our CEOs together and we've said, listen, 2 days, this is what we want to cover. And within these 2 days, you find that different CEOs, based on just exchanging their own experiences, you learn better that way. So that face-to-face exchange is almost priceless because now you're able to interact with your colleague to say, hey, but I'm having the same problem. How did you fix it? You don't get that from an online learning platform.
That's true.
So it depends, again, as I said before, on the need. If it is a technical training or something that, they can read up on their own and answer the questions, some personal development stuff online is the way to go. So you determine what's the modality based on the seriousness of the problem that you have and how quickly you need to fix that problem.
Okay, so Lakeisha, how do learning and development programs differ from traditional training programs?
Okay, so, sometimes we use these words interchangeably. So like everything is training or everything is learning. But there's a difference. And simply put, training is about the organization. It's about having those internal education programs that helps people to develop. But learning is about individual growth. So if you want to just simplify it, training is about the organization, learning is about the individual. With both of them, though, there is a commonality, which is to build the skills and competencies. So whether you're learning or you're in training, the objective of both of them is to help you to build your skills and competencies and to improve your level of education. So really, that's what the difference is with both of them. Training is also, in my mind, is a strategic tool. So we use that tool to help the organization to be better. So what do these sales reps need, for example, to generate more revenue? They need sales training. And so organizations have that at their disposal to help them to achieve the outcomes that they intended to have. While learning is, hey, I need Tom to become the sales manager. How am I going to get Tom to become the sales manager? So you put them on a learning and development path. And so there's a difference. One speaks to the individual, one speaks to the organization.
And then when we speak about these learning and development paths, as you mentioned, Tom might want to, or you might want Tom to become a sales manager.
Right.
How do you develop these individual learning paths for so many people in an organization?
Well, that's a great question, and that's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work. But there's a way to simplify it. Again, it depends on the nature of the organization, depends on the size of the organization. And so, I mean, for us, my organization, we have over 5,000 employees. And that's a
lot of
big
people.
stretch. And so what we have to do is have programs. So when persons start, there are some core courses that they must do. And those courses are aligned to our values, our mission, or vision. And so once you come in as an employee, you put them in what we call a training group.
Okay.
So they're in a group, this bucket that says, as a new employee, you must do these programs. Then once you've finished those programs, then you get training that is specific to your area. So now you're in sales or you're in production. Whatever it is that you're assigned to do, there is specific training for you. So then you move into another bucket. And then let's say you move into supervisory management afterwards. And some of your other colleagues also move into that area. We have another bucket for middle management training is what we call it. So supervisory management course would be a part of that bucket. Once you've done that, you've now stepped up your manager, you're ready to lead people. We have leadership training. So again, there's another bucket. So we have pockets or buckets that, you know, as you progress through the organization, there are different pockets that we put you in for you to continuously learn and develop towards becoming that sales manager. So it's difficult because when you're dealing with a lot of employees, it's hard to pinpoint those programs that are specific for the person at the beginning of their career. You can't. So we give them a core set of training. Then you put them in the training that's specific to the job. And once they have that covered and they're moving into supervisory management, we have what is called a high potentials program.
Okay.
And that high potentials program helps us to narrow the niche of persons who need to move to the next level of training, right? And so there is a systematic way that we do career pathing and growth in organizations. It's just dependent on the size and the nature of the organization, as I said before.
And then you mentioned high potential employees and having a program specifically for them. How do you identify those high potential employees? And how do you ensure that you're not leaving others behind who could be high potential?
Well, you know, Christine, let me just say this. I think high potential employees, they speak for themselves.
Okay.
You know them. They behave well. They are good and they're successful. And, you know, that name is always called. So for this project, I want Lakeisha. For that project, I still want Lakeisha. And then for that other project, I think Lakeisha might help. So, you know, high potentials, they have a certain acumen about them that says, I'm a starter, I do things, you know, I'm a finisher, whatever it is. But there are specific ways. We have assessments. We look at your performance over the years. For the last 2 years, what has your performance score looked like? You know, because a higher potential must perform well. So if we look at your score, your performance review score, and it's consistently high, and you have the right attitude and the right skills, then, you know, we have a process where we ask your manager to nominate you for the program when it starts.
Okay.
Or you're able to apply. And once you apply to the program, there's a whole process that goes on in terms of how do we select those persons to participate in this elite program that we have.
Interesting. And then I like that you have like an application process and managers can recommend.
Yes.
At the end of the process, like, what is the biggest reward for the person? Is it leveling up?
Well, the rewards are many, and it depends on how the person looks at it. So it could be leveling up, could be just learning new skills that helps them to work on another team. Because a lot of people don't necessarily want to move up the corporate ladder,
laterally,
but they move laterally. And so when they move laterally, their experience and exposure is 10 times broader than moving up. Because moving up signifies a step up or 2 steps up. But when you work laterally and you're able to work on cross-functional teams, as an individual, your skill set improves, and you just are able to do more, and the organization sees you. You know, if you're really looking, you see the person. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. All right. So let's look at some examples now, Lakeisha. Do you know any organizations, probably in the organization where you currently work, or another organization where learn and development has been successfully integrated into career pathing?
Oh, definitely. Great question. So yes, I have been at a very senior level in learning and development for a couple of years. I was at a point the director for learning and development at the central bank.
Okay.
And now I'm in telecoms as group head of talent development. So I've seen a lot of things happen in terms of learning and development, and in terms of how they have successfully integrated L&D in career pathing. There are 2 things I could speak about specifically. When you have a learning ecosystem in an organization, it tends to have learning becomes part of your fiber. It's what you do. It's what you know, people move up because they have new skills and competencies. So it's that thing that's just there. And when you have that ecosystem, it provides employees with an avenue for them. They want to succeed. They're looking forward to getting on these programs that will help them in terms of their careers, right? Now, for organizations to successfully integrate L&D in career pathing, you have to think of what are the things that people need. And it may be simple things as mentorship. It could be job rotation. It could be job shadowing. It could be an assignment to a special project, because everybody needs something different. And so I've seen where we've had programs where we've had some great set of people that we've put through a middle managers program, and they have excelled. And coming out of that, we're able to identify those persons who could potentially be on our succession management program. And so from the succession pool, we're able to fill critical vacancies, because over time we built up the management cadre, and people actually, you know, they take onto the training, they learn, they're great managers. Then they get identified for a succession role. They're on a succession management program, which entails mentorship as well. And having had that level of exposure where we've integrated all of these things, these L&D initiatives into the organization, we're able at the end to fill positions faster and better, because we've already had a pipeline of people who are ready, trained, ready, mentored, coached. They're developed, and they can easily and seamlessly assume a very critical role in the organization. So I've seen where, you know, that has happened in one instance. Another instance is we take people who have a specific, they're in a specific area. Say, for example, they're in charge of the technology for a company. We tend to focus on developing those skills because, say, for example, you're a telecoms company. Technology is at the base of what you do. And so we always have to use different L&D initiatives, whether it's formal training, it's on-the-job training, going out there to look at the cables that are run underground. So there are different ways that we can integrate learning and development in organizations. And it helps with the person's career pathing. Because when you take me and you say, you know, I've identified these skills in you, I think you'd be a great successor for X role. and I want to invest in you, that employee becomes the happiest person on the planet. And so, there are different ways that organizations can integrate L&D into career pathing, but it's for you to know the organization and know the people that you're working with.
That point is so key. You have to know the organization, you have to know the people
Absolutely.
who are in the organization.
Absolutely.
Love that point. So, Lakeisha, how can learning and development initiatives empower individuals to navigate their career paths effectively?
Well, with more knowledge, Christine, you become more confident. And once you're more confident, you start to seek out these opportunities, right? And if you have an organization that is continuously creating new opportunities for people, there are things that are roles that are coming out that are new, and people feel like, hey, I can apply for this role. I feel confident. I've been in the training. Then you'll find that there's a shift. People will feel encouraged. They feel empowered, and they take control of their career path themselves. You have to provide that environment for people to want to learn and grow and develop, right? Career pathing really and truly helps to build morale. People feel good when they know that you are investing in them. It increases productivity, it's big, it aids with staff retention. People will stay with you when they see that, hey, you know what? I'm empowered. I feel like I'm being trained. I feel developed. I have a mentor. I'm going to stay with this company because I like what they're doing for me.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So there are different ways that we can use L&D initiatives to empower staff members. Yeah.
Love that. And I love the whole idea of developing staff members, because these are people who have their own interests, their own goals.
Right.
And when an organization can truly identify those things that matter to their teams, as you said, it builds morale. It helps people to actually want to be at work and want to develop the organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they want to stay. If one of the things is, if your attrition rate is low, it's good because it says something. What are we doing well? When you read it, even like the LinkedIn Learning Report, it tells you that over 80% of employees, they will stay with a company that puts learning and development at the fore, because people want to continuously learn and grow and develop. And we want to see who we can become. You don't join an organization to stay junior. You can't stay junior for 20 years. But if you have the right environment where learning is a major focus, then it helps you, the individual, to grow and just become anything. If
you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, Lakeisha, what strategies or tools can organizations implement to help employees align their learning and development with their desired career paths?
Great question. So there are many things we can do, and I think organizations have been doing them. What I think should happen is to do it in a structured way.
That's what's
so we're
missing.
Doing it, right. We're doing it, but we're not. Are we doing this in a structured way? Maybe not. So some of the things I'd suggest is every company needs to have a structured onboarding process.
Amen.
And once you have that onboarding process where even before the person comes in, they feel like they're a part of this thing already. That does something to the new recruit. Once they come in, then you have an orientation program that says, hey, you've heard about us, but let us tell you who we are. This is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how you fit in here. So a structured onboarding process, a structured orientation process. And once the persons come in, you need to, again, invest in them. Help them to build the core competencies that they came with. So you advertise the job. You said, we need you to have these 10 skills. They have it. They're here with you. But what is the level of the skill that they have? So are their communication skills basic or is it intermediate? If it was basic, can we build it to an intermediate level if that's what the job is about? And so you need to define what the competencies are and build them. Core competencies. Everybody must be able to do these things, right? Additionally, we need to have individual development plans. People call them IDPs for all staff. But again, if you have 5,000 employees, it's very difficult. So you have to find a way to engage our leaders to say, hey, you have a team of 20. Everyone on your team should have an IDP. And this is how an IDP is developed. We can work with you to have them developed over time. And you set up a timeline in which you'd want all your departments to send in their IDPs. HR and L&D will review to see if these IDPs are written well. If they're not, in a smaller organization, HR takes control of that process. Very simple, very easy. And in addition to that, you could also include a mentorship program. So when you have some people who come in, you assign a mentor to them. We have a program, for example, a graduate program, and 18 young people joined our company. And it's such a wonderful experience for them because they're learning through the formal system. They have a mentor that's assigned from day one, and that mentor guides them in terms of career progression. You know, the mentor says to them, I've been in this company for 20 years. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. Here's how you succeed. These are the things that you need to bear in mind. So a mentorship program, having a mentor is a critical component, again, that you could align. And in my head, every organization should promote this culture of continuous learning. So learning is not a benefit. It's not a gift. It's that thing that you do all the time. For you to continuously succeed in any organization, you must learn, you must grow, but these opportunities have to be provided for you. So, you know, these are some of the tools that organization really can implement to have their employees learn and develop in order to get to their desired career path. Because say, for example, a mentor might say, no, Christine, I know you like accounting and you've said that this is what you really, really, really want to be doing, but you're so great at marketing. We've seen you do these marketing things and it's great. Would you want to explore a career in marketing? That's what a mentor does.
Right.
And the person would go, no, not interested. But it's the mentor's job to help you to identify that thing that you don't see for yourself. And it's your responsibility to, you know, listen to your mentor, challenge your mentor. You know, no, I don't like marketing because I don't want to be out there doing all these. It's for you to have that relationship with a mentor, somebody who can say, hey, this is the path I think is best for you as a young person, right? So those are my tips.
I love those tips. And I love that you brought up mentorship. And I love how you describe mentorship because in an ideal world, that's really what it's supposed to be like, right? How do you make a mentorship program really work from the perspective of actually motivating the mentors to do their part and creating a space where the mentees feel safe to approach the mentors for the support that they need?
Right. Okay. Awesome question. So with mentorship is a relationship, right? And organizations choose how they implement mentorship based on their needs. So there's group mentoring, which works in some instances, and there is one-on-one mentorship that works in other instances. Now, for us to have a successful mentorship program or mentorship relationship in an organization, the first thing to do is to identify mentors who are dedicated, committed, and are able to share their story, at least have a story that they want to share in a way that's meaningful to others. So a mentor has to have a particular mindset, a mindset that says, I'm here to help others learn and grow and develop. We also provide training for mentors. So just as we do for the mentees, in starting up a mentorship program, there's training that must happen for both parties. So here are the things that a mentor does. Here are the things that you don't do. Here are the things that a mentee does. Here are the things that you don't do. Because you're building a relationship with someone, we have to ensure that there are guidelines. And there are, you know, just some things that says, here are the boundaries of this relationship because it's a professional relationship. So we train our mentors. We ensure that they're people who have the right business acumen. They are successful in their jobs and they're willing to help the young people.
Right.
For the mentees, we say to the mentees, hey, this is what the mentors will do for you. Here's how you approach your mentor. Be the one to set the meetings, show initiative, go to your mentor for things that concern you in a professional way. It might not necessarily be about switching jobs or anything. It may be, how do I navigate a supervisor that's being unfair to me? And your mentor may be able to say to you, what's the challenge you're having? Here are a few tips for you. Try these. Let me know how it works without intervening. So the mentor is really there to help you to navigate. And good mentees are usually quite successful if they listen to the mentors and take that guidance that's provided. So just setting up the program and having guidelines. Recently we set up a mentorship program and we did a guidebook to help the mentors and the mentees. So having had the training, we put the material together and we're like, hey, here is your guidebook. So if you need to reference it, please go there and just read up.
I like that structured approach to creating a mentorship program. So going to learning and development and career pathing again, what emerging trends and technologies are likely to impact those fields based on what you are seeing?
There's so many. There's so many. I mean, people are learning now based on those little short videos. So video-based learning, right? So the TikToks and those little 20-second videos is what's captivating people's interest, right? As it relates to L&D, we can't do the TikToks, we can't do all those things, right? We see even GPT, the newest trend. It gives you a human-like response to a problem, which could be a problem for us because we're no longer learning how to think critically. Our problem-solving skills are disappearing. Our communication skills don't even have to exist, right? Because this software can help you to put it all together. So we have a lot of emerging trends coming up, and it can likely impact the field of L&D. But at the core, we need to remember that learning and development is about the individual, and it's about providing that right tool for them. So ChatGPT and those other things exist. But is it right for Christine? Is it right for Lakeisha? What is the tool that's right for you? There's a flip side to all this new technology that's coming in because it allows people to learn. It gives them access to information at their fingertips. It's readily available. And so people are always going to be interested in reading. And reading helps to build your knowledge base. And watching these short videos, opens the mind. So we're going to have an impact. But is it bad? I'm not sure. Maybe that's a conversation to have at another time. But a lot of emerging trends are going to impact the way we learn and the way people develop. What we have to do as organizations is to just maintain that structured process by which we allow persons to learn, as well as having an informal process where people learn at a roundtable conversation. People learn in a lunch and learn conversation. So structure is one, but you can also have very informal conversations where people learn from each other. And so the emerging trends will always come, new technologies will always come, but we have to be very grounded in terms of how, as organizations, we want our people to develop and just go at it from that standpoint.
I love that. And Lakeisha, as we close out, what final words of advice would you leave with the audience?
Well, there's so many things to share, but I just want to say that learning and development is critical. It's critical for people. It's critical for businesses. It's just the way of the world. Without knowledge, you have no power. You can't speak to things that you know nothing about. And just to encourage people that, we always learn, we always grow, we're always developing, seek new opportunities, to learn, grow, develop. Those are my 3 words. I really like them because it's just how you navigate life. You must learn. You develop into somebody that you didn't even think you are. And you're constantly growing. So always try to learn, grow, develop as an individual.
I love that. And Lakeisha, I enjoyed this conversation. It's something that I really believe in as well, that it's important to develop your people and to support their career growth. So
Absolutely.
I thank you for sharing your tips, and I hope that the audience really took something from this episode.
Great. Thank you for having me.